the Tristen Law Show. If it's your first time here, welcome. And if you've been here before, welcome back. I'm Tristen Law, a semi-retired pro wrestler, and I'm your host. Today we're diving into a topic that's got me fired up. Let me set the scene for you. Netflix is getting ready to host WWE Raw for us Americans and WWE programming for the rest of the world starting in January. After watching Netflix's first live sports event, the Tyson versus Paul fight, I've got some thoughts, and trust me, wrestling fans, this one is for us. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, okay, Tristen, what's a boxing match got to do with WWE? Well, here's the thing. What I saw wasn't just a fight. It was Netflix stepping to the ring for the first time as a live contender. And like any rookie, they've got some work to do if they want to tag team with the heavyweight champion of live event production, WWE. But here's where it gets interesting. What if I told you Netflix is using these live events as training matches? Yep, you've heard it right. That everything they're learning now, every glitch, every camera angle mishap, is practice for WWE's arrival. I'm talking about two massive brands colliding to create what could be the biggest shift in wrestling and live entertainment we've ever seen. And because I know that you're a hardcore wrestling fan and not a Netflix binge watcher, I'm keeping this all about wrestling. So don't worry, there's no boxing breakdowns here. But here's the question. Can Netflix even come close to WWE's production quality standards? Is Netflix ready for WrestleMania, or are they still at the NXT level? Here's another one. And what does this all mean for us as wrestling fans? Stick around because I'm breaking it all down, and I've got some answers to the questions you probably haven't even thought about yet. Now, like I mentioned, in case you're living underneath a rock and you don't know, there was a big fight on Netflix a couple weeks ago, actually last weekend, between Mike Tyson and Jake Paul. And that fight was one of the biggest things that everybody in the world was getting crazy for. You know what? I'm not even a boxing fan, and I had to watch it. And I only watched it for one reason. The only reason I decided to watch it was because I wanted to see what they were going to do for it in case when WWE shows up. This is the big fight here. A Netflix live event. Everybody in the whole entire world is getting ready for it. We just can't wait for that fight to happen. This was Netflix's first foray. This is their first time getting into the pool of live sports and entertainment. Let me tell you about the production, though. I don't think the production was a 10 out of 10. I really don't think so. And I think so that maybe because I'm spoiled, because I've watched WWE for a very long time. But here's some of the things that I saw. I saw that there were awkward pauses. There were moments that we should have been seeing a video live on the screen. However, we were watching the Jumbotron like we were in the stadium in Texas. The audio, I think the audio was off at times. You could hear other people talking. This wasn't perfect. But what if this fight wasn't about boxing at all? What if, like I said, this was Netflix preparing for WWE, right? WWE is coming to Netflix in January 2025. In case you didn't know and you're living underneath a rock, here it goes. Here's a little promo poster for that, right? And the question I'm asking everybody right now is, do you think that Netflix can live up to the legendary standards of WWE production? We'll answer that later, but let's first talk about why I feel that this partnership is so important. The Netflix and WWE partnership is very important to live event fans, especially in pro wrestling. WWE is one of the biggest brands in when it comes to live entertainment. They're bigger than the NFL. They're bigger than the NBA. They're bigger than Broadway. They're bigger than regular television brands. They're bigger than ABC. They're bigger than Disney. There's more people subscribed to WWE on YouTube than there is on Disney on the Disney YouTube page. If you don't believe me, you can look at it yourself, but not right now because we're still talking. WWE has set the standard for live event production and pro wrestling. Every wrestling that you see, whether it's the Indies, whether it's TNA, whether it's AEW, they all take a page out of the WWE's book. The WWE is the leader of live sports and entertainment. During the pandemic, everybody got the idea that they can still run shows or run like sporting events because the WWE was doing it. Everybody stopped to see what the WWE was doing because they wanted to make money just like the WWE. They wanted to entertain people, and the WWE did it right, and everybody else followed suit. And I think that by WWE going to Netflix, it's going to up the standards of what is provided on streaming platforms, because wrestling now has a new home. Wrestling has been on television maybe since television was first invented, and now it's getting ready to shift with the new times, and it's getting ready to be on a streaming platform. From what I understand, AEW is getting ready to go on a live streaming platform as well too. They're getting ready to go on Max, and guess when they're going to do it? January 2025. That's only rumor. That's something I want to look into a little bit more before I speak on it. But that's something else that they're getting ready to do as well. It's amazing that if you don't understand that WWE is the standard, I hope you understand what they do now. Like I said, WWE has set the standard for live event production. But I think that this partnership is important to Netflix and the WWE is because it's about money. If people don't see the glitz and glamour of WWE in their homes, they'll not want to see it in person. So when WWE brings you this larger than life production that you can turn on your TV and soon going to be Netflix, and you see that you're like, man, I have to be there in person. I have to. I just have to go and see what it is like. And let me tell you, baby, when you go see a WWE production live, I'm talking about like a Raw, a SmackDown, or pay-per-view, or an NXT. It is unlike no other. It's like Broadway meets a concert meets a stunt show. It's amazing. It's not like anything else. It's not like AEW. It's not like TNA, and it's definitely not like the Indies. It's different. There's a lot of moving parts to make a WWE show happen, and you're going to see that there. However, Netflix will make more money from this, obviously, and so will WWE, which will lead to more extravagant shows that people can see at home and that people will see live. And honestly, this is about money at the end of the day. You know, I feel that since WWE has shifted to TKO, since they've, no longer owned by the McMahon family, the stock has done great. I can attest to that because I am a shareholder for WWE, now TKO. So that's great as well too. Another perk about Netflix and WWE getting in bed together, listen to this. 300 million people will be able to see WWE. Now, let's not be crazy now. Not all 300 million people are going to be interested in wrestling, right? But look at it like this. I said earlier that I am not interested at all in boxing. It's not my thing. People always ask me, why don't you become a boxer? I said, because I didn't want to get hit for real. It's not my foray. But I watched it just to see what it was like. There are people that are going to turn on Netflix in January and say, oh, Raw is here, WWE is here. Let me see what this is all about. Let me see what they're doing. And the people are going to be enamored by what's happening, and it's going to have brand new fans. I just hope that Netflix can get it together by then, that they don't crash and people can't watch in January. WWE has to succeed on Netflix. Why? Because pro wrestling depends on it. It really does. As a production specialist myself, I have been jaded as to what a clean production look like. I normally, when I produce the Tristen Law Show, I try to make sure, even though it's on YouTube, I try to make sure that it's something high quality that you can see on television. Like this show, I think it could easily be on television. They would just need a little bit of help for a producer to press buttons and everything else in the background, so I don't have to do it all by myself. But I feel that even on YouTube, I feel that this show is a high standard, and I think I'm spoiled because of WWE. Here's a story. I once remember when I was working in a radio station, and I was concerned about how I would be able to do good radio. And my mentor, she told me that you've lived in New York for a large percentage of your life. You know what good radio sounds like. You know what good radio even looks like. right? So because I've been watching WWE for so long, and most likely have you, you can at least attest that WWE has a good production quality. Okay, fine. Maybe you don't watch WWE. Maybe you don't watch, maybe what you watch is AEW every Wednesday night. Maybe that's your cup of tea. And if that is, that's cool. But you have to be able to admit that when you're stacking a production of the WWE versus everybody else just comes in second place. WWE does a really good job of placing people where they need to be on camera, and everybody kind of knows what's going on. I thought that was one of the issues within the Paul versus Tyson fight, and that's sometimes the issue with some pro wrestling companies as well too. And that's one of the things that you have to worry about when you do live television. One of the things I hate about doing live, and even like doing this podcast here, is that I hate doing live. And people say, "Why do you hate doing live?" Honestly, because live is live. But one of the things that I have to that you realize when you do something live is that once it's happened, it's already out there, and you can't suck it back into your mouth. You can't go ahead and edit it later on. I mean, you could, but a lot of people are watching it live. It's already done. There's nothing that you can do to change it. In the Tyson versus Paul fight, the ring announcer was waiting for his cue, and you heard him being produced. Multiple times you would hear somebody producing him and telling him when to go. All right, so that's not really so much of a bad thing, because they're in an arena with an open dome, and when you're in, if you've ever been in an arena where you're in the middle, right? Because I've done it when I wrestled, and if you're in the middle and you hear people cheering, all the cheering comes at you, right? And then it bounces off the ceiling and it comes back at you. In big arenas, it works the same way as well too. However, when there's no roof, guess where the sound goes? Up. It takes a second to come for you, and sometimes you might not even hear it. So, the ring announcer might not have been hearing that he was getting his cue, so they actually had to visibly yell at him. But one of the things that WWE does is that they use earpieces, because when the arena is packed like it was in Texas, you can't hear jack. I like that. When the arena is packed like it was in Texas, you can't hear jack. And what WWE has learned how to do is just master that. That they're right in the person's ear, and they can disseminate whatever messages or cues that they need to help bring the show live. WWE has learned to tell stories to the audience at home. And the Tyson versus Paul fight, I think it could have been shot better for the people at home. But hey, what the hell do I know? By the way, in case you were wondering, WWE still holds a live event attendance record in AT&T Stadium with 131,000 people. Shout out to pro wrestling. We're going to take a look at we're going to compare WWE's decades of live experience to that attempt that Netflix had with live sporting events. One thing to note is that WWE has decades of producing sports and live entertainment programming. Compared to everybody else that's probably getting ready to go on Netflix, WWE has had 40 years to get it wrong. Facts. They've had 40 plus years to get it wrong. And I feel that after January 6, 2025, WWE will continue to set the standard for pro wrestling, but not only for pro wrestling, but on Netflix when it comes to live sports production. If you are going to be somebody like MVP was the organization that produced and promoted that fight between Logan Paul and Mike Tyson. If you're going to be on the same exact streaming platform as WWE, you got to bring your A game. You can't look like you just started producing yesterday. Like I just mentioned about MVP, I'm just making that note to let you know that Netflix wasn't responsible for the production. Netflix was more so responsible for the distribution. It was their job to make sure that everybody can see it. And I don't think they were ready for so many people watching it at one time. WWE is responsible for their production. Like I keep mentioning, their production is top notch. Anyone doing live entertainment, listen to what I'm telling you now. Whether you're doing a podcast, whether you're doing a TV show on YouTube, whatever it is that you're doing, if you are in a live event production, take a note from WWE on Netflix starting January 6th, 2025. To be fair, though, live production is not easy. Producing this podcast live twice a week takes a lot of work that you don't even see. It takes a lot of sweat and tears. It takes a lot of waking up early and going to bed late just to make sure that this here happens. Sometimes You have to create graphics. You have to make sure things work. Sometimes, while you're doing a live production, things just don't work. Like right now, I'm having an issue right now where things just don't work. But you know what? It's just what it is. Everybody's here for the show, and you just keep presenting the show. Then, the thing that I try to tell people is that you when you're doing your own podcast, you're doing live television, you just can't come on here and just talk. You have to have a plan. You got to know exactly what you want to do. You got to hit some bullet points, because especially when you're doing live television, even though people are a little bit more forgiving when it comes to live television, right? Versus like, programming that was given to you pre-recorded. In live television, they go, all right, well, you know what? They're live. But you still got to make sure you respect people's time and engage them with content that fits them best. Then while I'm live, I've got many different things to monitor while I'm live. I'm monitoring the YouTube chat in case somebody wants to drop a message in the YouTube chat. I'm monitoring my computer to make sure that I'm not going to blow up the computer, because I'm pushing so many things into the computer at the one time. There's so much to do when it comes to live production. Live production isn't easy at all. And to be fair, WWE staff work together a minimum of 200 live television events per year. The team who handled the Netflix Tyson versus Paul fight are a team of people who probably don't work together every day. But here's another question. What can Netflix learn from WWE, and how will WWE benefit from Netflix? Netflix is using these live sporting events. They're using the Paul versus Hogan, the Paul versus Tyson fight, and they even have Christmas NFL games that are coming up. They're using that as practice for the WWE, if you ask me. Now, if you ask me, I don't think that all WWE fans don't... No, I could agree with this. All WWE fans, we're not like boxing fans and football fans. We're like no other. We don't have too much of a tolerance for our wrestling not being delivered right. Netflix had issues with people trying to get on Netflix. WWE is a big brand and bigger than the NFL. Netflix needs to get it right by January 6, 2025. They can't poop the bed when it comes to Netflix and WWE getting in bed together. They can't poop that bed. No. Here's some things to take a look at with Netflix getting that NFL football game. Granted, it's not a football channel. I don't watch football, so I'm not going to go too deeply into it. 30 million people watch Christmas football games. 30 million people watch Christmas football games. With the barrier of entry even lower because everyone knows somebody with a Netflix account. I anticipate close to 100 million people watching Netflix just to watch the NFL football games. Live sports are big money, and Netflix wants to get paid. Now, just think about that. If that many people are able to watch Netflix at one time, imagine how many people can watch Monday Night Raw. This is huge. And if you don't know, I'm telling you, I'm glad I'll be able to put you on. But Netflix is an independent pro wrestling. They're not YouTube, although YouTube does have a certain level of prestige like Netflix. Netflix has to learn from the mistakes that happened with the Tyson versus Paul fight, and everyone who's producing live sports and entertainment TV, take a look at what WWE will do. Here's another question. Don't worry, I'm going to answer all these questions for you. What do you think will happen when the streaming giant finally steps into the ring with WWE? If you like what I'm doing, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button. That's the biggest compliment that you can give me. Next weekend is WWE Survivor Series War Games, and we're going to have a pre-show and a recap on 2 different days. We're going to have the pre-show next week, leading into next weekend, and Sunday morning, we're going to have the recap show, so you want to be able to hear my thoughts, and you know what? I might not be alone in that recap show, so make sure you check that out. Netflix has climbed through the ranks, but is it ready for the WWE? Because WWE just isn't some live event. If you've never seen WWE in person, I'm not talking about television. Television only gives you so much. But WWE is a spectacle. I always say that WWE is Broadway, a live concert, and Broadway all in one. When you see it live in person and live in TV, it's 2 separate experiences of the same exact product. It's like going to a restaurant and eating it there and then ordering it DoorDash and eating it at your home. It's 2 separate experiences. If you've never watched WWE live and in person and you're a pro wrestling fan, I recommend you do so. Because if you know someone who's watched the Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul fight on Netflix, have them watch WrestleMania 38, which took place in the same exact stadium, right? Paul and Tyson went toe-to-toe. You know what, heck, even have them watch the most recent WrestleMania, and I bet you they will say, wow, there is a difference. If not, money back guarantee. Go ahead, give them back their money. But wait until WWE hits Netflix. I'm telling you, it's going to be a game changer. Let's talk about what WWE fans can expect when WWE gets to Netflix. Enhanced accessibility for fans, right? Netflix has great captions. They have different languages that you can get, and you can do it all there in the television. Whatever language you speak, they'll be able to do that for you as well too. There's going to be opportunities for new creative ways to experience WWE. They've had on Netflix different shows where it's interactive. So maybe they'll have some kind of interactive show with the WWE down the line. Just something that they can think about, something that they can try, right? There's also the potential for cross promotion with Netflix original shows. Imagine seeing your favorite WWE superstar on Stranger Things, right? Imagine seeing your favorite WWE star, I know it doesn't come on anymore, so don't judge me, on Orange is the New Black, right? There are challenges that Netflix must overcome, using the Tyson fight as an example, technical glitches, buffering, etc., right? In this day and age, even though it's funny, right? The majority of people watching this right now and the majority of the people using the internet right now, we grew up in the age to where you had to wait 3 minutes to download a music video. Music video, God forgive me. You had to wait 3 minutes to download music audio in MP3, and you probably had to wait maybe a couple hours to download a video, right? And when you were watching the video wasn't clear, and sometimes it buffered. We are the people that we don't want that in this day and age. That's one of the things that I make sure here on the Tristen Law Show is that you are getting a good quality production that's not buffering. But here's the reward. Imagine a world where WWE's unmatched production value meets Netflix's global reach. Think about that for a second. What would that mean for pro wrestling fans? Let me tell you. AEW is going to have to find a global streaming partner. I think that global streaming partner is Max, because from what I understand, I haven't really looked into it too much, that AEW will be streaming Dynamite live on Wednesday nights on Max starting in January. I don't know. And God, can TNA find their own global streaming partner? Like TNA has been around so long that they shouldn't have had a company like AEW pass them. They were so busy trying to keep up with WWE at the time instead of just trying to build their own brand. I think that right now TNA has finally found who they are, right? Better late than never. Welcome back to the dance. But they need some kind of television exposure to where people can watch them on a national level. WWE going to Netflix, the production of pro wrestling will change and the bar will be raised. Not only for mainstream pro wrestling, but for high quality independent pro wrestling companies as well too, that film and record content, sometimes live on the internet. No matter if you love WWE or AEW, you will benefit from WWE being on Netflix. Pro wrestling is very popular, and Netflix getting WWE's proof of that. In the past, 5 years, just the way that pro wrestling had just evolved, and it's bubbling and it's boiling. Pro wrestling is in a renaissance. Pro wrestling is so good for money. Pro wrestling is so good that there's random people that follows this YouTube channel, and I don't know where they come from. I don't ask friends or family to like the YouTube channel or to subscribe, right? Because it's you know what, I get the support, right? But what I'm looking for more so is just for you to pass it on. I'm looking for somebody who's going to watch this that genuinely likes this. And there's a lot of people that genuinely like this, right? I'm getting, in the last 60 days, I've gotten 60 plus subscribers. Pro wrestling is very exciting right now. Looking at WWE's contract with Netflix, listen, WWE has a 10-year contract with Netflix for $5 million. If WWE, however, doesn't live up to the expectations, Netflix can opt out in year 5 or extend to an additional 10. Pro wrestling, WWE, can be on Netflix until at least 2035. At least 2035. Imagine what you'd be doing in 10 years. 10 years, I'd be getting ready to retire from my regular job, and I'll probably be doing this in a full-fledged studio. Can Netflix live up to to WWE standards? Right now, from what I just seen, I think not yet, but they're learning. WWE will bring its A game to ensure fans, however, are not disappointed. That's something we're going to have to see. Can Netflix live up to the live standards that WWE has? We're going to have to wait and see. But I think, you know what, they're just going to get it right. I think that WWE was watching that fight, and they probably got on the phone and said, hey, we don't want this to happen for us. We want this to be a top quality production. What can Netflix learn from the WWE? They can learn that wrestling is more about action. It's about storytelling, spectacle, and connection. And good thing WWE is fully going to be in charge of those three things, and they just need Netflix to just distribute it. How will WWE benefit Netflix? 100% by reaching millions of new fans worldwide, cementing this legacy of wrestling on, I hate to say it, maybe one of the most watched streaming platforms next to here on YouTube. Golly. But look, wrestling fans, listen to me. Netflix is getting WWE starting January 6, 2025. And I know some of you may be nervous after seeing Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul fight. I get it. It wasn't perfect. There were awkward pauses, audio issues, and moments where we're just watching a Jumbotron instead of watching a polished at-home viewing. But let's not forget that this wasn't just a boxing match. Let's just say it was Netflix's training match. Their first time stepping into the ring as a live sports contender, they took their bumps, they learned some lessons, and now they're gearing up for the WWE. And here's why you don't need to worry. WWE is still in charge of their production value. The WWE that we know, the one that sets the bar for live event storytelling, seamless camera work, and spectacle, that's the WWE that's coming to Netflix. Netflix, they're just a platform. And trust me, they'll have their streaming game together by January because they know the stakes. WWE has been doing this for decades. They're the masters of live production. And as spoiled as we are by how good WWE production is, just imagine what happens when their unmatched production value meets Netflix's global reach. We're talking about almost 300 million people getting access to the sport that we love, to the company that we love, WWE. People who may have never seen a live pro wrestling show before are going to see WWE Raw, and you know what happened next? They become fans. That's bigger crowds, crazier matches, and more investment in pro wrestling as a whole. And this isn't just about WWE fans. It's good for all of wrestling. When WWE raises the bar, everyone else has to step up their game. So whether you love WWE, AEW, or TNA, you win. Because wrestling is hotter than ever, and Netflix getting WWE is proof of that. So don't worry about Netflix's presentation of Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul, because quite frankly, if you ask me, they're just practicing. Come January 6th, 2025, they'll be ready. WWE is about to hit Netflix, and trust me, this will change the game for wrestling forever. Wrestling fans, buckle up, because if you ask me, I think the best is yet to come. Thanks so much for joining me here on the Tristen Law Show. If you like what I did, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And if you're still hanging out here at this point, go ahead and watch another video. Why not? I'll be back on Tuesday, live at noon, for another live video. My name is Tristen Law, and this is the Tristen Law Show. Thanks so much for watching. And you know what? Looking at my watch, I think I'll see you next time.